Welcome back to Newsviews this morning, and my guest is Judy Baar Topinka, the Illinois State Comptroller. She manages the checkbook for the state of Illinois. What a job that's got to be. And as we head into this next section here, Judy, I want to get into, it's kind of been hanging out there for the longest period of time, and I'm talking about the state union workers' pension funds and the unfunded nature of this. And you have a publication that you put out, and in your first issue, it's called The Fiscal Focus. You can see the cover of this, and we have it right here. But it says that Illinois has the nation's largest unfunded pension liability. Now, at that time, the figure was about $75 billion. I think that figure may even be adjusted upward by now. 80. About $80 billion. Yeah. And of course, there have been some things done. That is, new state employees coming in at the beginning of this coming year will be in a different system, a different tier.
But that doesn't generate money now. That's right. Down the road a bit.
That still doesn't deal with the current employees. Right. The big question here is whether, as I understand it anyway, and it's complicated, is whether the current union workers are guaranteed a pension benefit, or are they merely guaranteed a contribution to the plan? Now, the unions are saying they're guaranteed the benefit.
Yes, and their interpretation of the Constitution is such. And really, you know, we shouldn't be bad-mouthing the employees. They have been paying their portion of the pension funds over the years.
And we're talking here about the states contributing
right. I mean,
funds here.
Yes, right. I know. They've done their part, and we kind of beat on them, but they've done their part. The state has not done it, with Rod Blagojevich being the high point of this by skimming and taking money out of the pension fund and not putting it back. So as a result, what you had, an underfunded fund, and now you've really given it a hit on top of it, close to about $2 billion. So you really have this problem. We put in a bill that said, look, with computerization as it is today, why don't you give people a choice? They could probably put together, be it a defined contribution or a defined benefit program or a combination of those, or even get out of the plan completely and do their own thing. But you could set it up so that each person could kind of figure out, because it works better in different ways for different people.
There are some, and I'm talking about the unions now, who say, but that's not fair either, because they feel that these people indeed are owed this money. Right.
They are owed because literally contracts have been written, contracts have been signed. You see the fuss now between Governor Quinn and the unions because they're not getting raises, which were signed off on. You can't keep making promises and contracts, and I think the constitutional question is valid. So the courts are probably going to have to determine whether or not we have to pay this or not.
But the legislature has to tackle it first before it even gets to the courts.
And they got into it, but it didn't move. So I think maybe in veto session in November, we may see some activity.
Is there some activity, as you see it, and I know you talked about a proposal that was made here.
Sure.
Is that the best compromise at this point in order to get things back on track?
Well, it is a compromise, and I think compromise is the nature of politics. I wish Congress would start hearing that. Hey, Congress, you know, start hearing that. In order to move us along, but we have to do something, because the pension funds and that unfunded liability will eat up so much of our general funds between that, Medicaid, education, transportation, and basically by the time you get through with that, there's no money left for anything else.
Right. And I know this is not the only, this is a big one that's sitting out there, of course, but when you talk about we need to cut into state spending, are there some specific areas that you know that this state should be trimming in your
our office has given a list of close to $1 billion worth of cuts we thought could be done with the least amount of pain for people. We have very strongly pushed to try to combine the Office of Treasurer and Comptroller, which would save $12 million a year. Now, we've gotten it through the Senate, but the Speaker of the House,
to that, the Speaker of the House
doesn't like it. And so he's got it bottled up in committee. And all I'm asking is, let's have an up or down vote and then put it on the ballot and let the public decide that.
Could put you in the strange position, though, of saying that your job doesn't exist anymore.
Well, so what? I mean, you know, that's okay. But somewhere you have to do this. And if I had my druthers, I would throw in the lieutenant governor's office as well. It's a worthless office. You want to save money? I can show you how to save money.
Before we go, I want to mention a program that you started in your office that is a bit unusual in that it comes from your office, but I know you're passionate about this, because just last week you were out there awarding a certificate to the first person who adopted a pet under this program that your office has begun. It's called, well, here's how it works. Let me tell you. More than 70 animal shelters in the state can now post pictures of adoptable pets and information about them on your website. That is the Comptroller's website. If you're an animal lover like Judy certainly is, and if you want a pet, you can check out her website, which is www.ioc.state.io. il.us. Now, you catch that website. If that's a bit too cumbersome for you to remember, Judy says it's horrible. You can check out our website. It might be a little easier to remember, abc7chicago.com. And if you check our website, we have the link there to this program. The Controller's Critters program was the name of it that I was looking for there, Judy. You made a point of saying this is not something that requires funding from your office to run.
No, not at all. We just put it on the website, which is already paid for. We don't hire anybody new. We don't get new programs. There's no cost to us. But if we can save money, and I'm on a one-person crusade to save money wherever I can save it, because you got to remember, the taxpayer, no matter what level of government we're talking on, it's the same pair of pants, different pocket. And people like to talk about millions and billions and so on. Let's talk about something we can actually get our hands around. If we can save money for our counties and our municipalities that have to run animal control and things of this sort, not to mention we keep people from being bitten or hurt or things of that sort, we can save between $250 and $300 per animal and get a good home. So you get a twofer here. You've saved money and you've done something humane, and an animal has gotten a good home, and it'll probably lower your blood pressure on top of it. Okay,
all right. State Controller Judy Baar Topinka, great to have you here on Newsviews this morning. I got a lot on your